biomass, hydro, geothermal, and wind. So these resources can actually be harnessed to provide off-grid services for energy, and also on-grid in terms of decentralized kind of systems. Today, the African Enterprise Challenge Fund and Renewable Energy and Adaptation to Climate Change Technologies window launches a competition for business to apply for this funding. This is really designed to stimulate investment by the private sector and to come out with new innovative ideas with the potential for wider social and economic benefits to the population. Actually, this initiative provides an important opportunity for Uganda in the area of energy provision and climate change. 3 years ago, I had an opportunity while in New Delhi to listen to a talk presented by Mr. Mahindra Motors. He told us that he has done all he feels he could do in the motor industry. But now his major challenge is to come out with a product which can reach out to at least 300 million poor Indians and have an impact on their lives. So I think we are now at a point where such a challenge is being put before us. Mr. Mahindra is in the private sector. So I think the private sector, we are now challenged to come out with a product which can change the masses. We have got 5 million households in Uganda, 4 million out there in the rural areas. And out of that 4 million, only about 200,000 are electrified through their own means. Most of them through their own means, very expensive ones. So it's a big challenge to us. I would like to take this opportunity to ask His Excellency, the British High Commissioner to Uganda, to pass on a word of appreciation to the government of Great Britain for the funding it has provided to this fund. Let me take this opportunity to encourage other development partners to use this fund as a vehicle for targeting the proper economic growth and the continued revival of the private sector in Uganda. The private sector, I challenge you to rise to the opportunity afforded by this fund. I ask you to respond with ideas, innovative business ideas, ideas that will impact on the lives of our rural poor, ideas that have the potential to change the way business and finance is carried out in the rural areas, ideas that are not rooted in charity but make sound business sense and display the potential for healthy profit, ideas that grow your business and help to grow the economy of Uganda. To the African Enterprise Challenge Fund, I would like to say thank you for running this competition. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Rise up to the occasion and we move ahead. I would like now to ask you to lead Jane and the Honorable Minister and William for short press interviews outside, and I'd like to request to come and make a detailed presentation, and then come and make a detailed presentation as we continue. And the questions that have been kept for you and all of us should answer them as we move on.
Right. We're delighted to be here this morning in Kampala. At the breakfast event at the Serena this morning, we launched the AECF, that's the Africa Enterprise Challenge Fund's competition called REACT. This competition is for business innovation. It's for the private sector to bid for our money for innovative business ideas in the fields of renewable energy and adaptation to climate change. This is a fund of donor money, but it's made available purely for the private sector, and it's a special competition for East Africa. And we are delighted this morning that a lot of private sector companies came, and we believe there are a lot of exciting initiatives from Ugandan entrepreneurs, and we encourage them to apply to this competition so that we can help grow the private sector and increase the renewable energy and climate change adaptation in Uganda. Thank you very much.
Why do you come to Uganda now, or in the East African region?
This particular competition is funded by the British government. We were very fortunate this morning to have with us Jane, who heads up the UK's Department for International Development, and they have specifically provided money for this competition for the 5 countries in East Africa. We do run other competitions for the continent of Africa, but this particular funding has been targeted at the 5 countries in East Africa.
I heard you've been to those other countries. So far, what's the response?
You're right. We did a launch in Nairobi with the Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and we also been in Tanzania last week. We were in Kigali earlier on this week, and we shall be in Bujumbura tomorrow. So we're covering East Africa quite well. The response has been fantastic, actually. You have to apply to us via our website, and we're already aware that as of yesterday evening, 240 companies had registered on our website for this competition.
How much is up for grabs, and what does someone need to do to get your money?
We make available grants and repayable grants, that's interest-free loans. The minimum a company can apply for is $250,000. The maximum is $1.5 million. And there's about $16.5 million altogether on offer.
How much do you have in your basket that these days are going to compete for?
As I just said, $16.5 million for East Africa is what is available for this particular competition.
Why did you choose to ensure that this money is accessed via competition, maybe not open expression of interest? Why would you? Perhaps my question then would be, what is the yardstick of the competition going to be? How will you pick out the winners? What should they have done? What are some of the benchmarks that those illegal for the fund?
Okay. Every competition that we run has particular eligibility criteria and selection criteria. It is very similar to putting out a tender in that sense. If you go to our website for this competition, you will see how the marks are awarded, what we seek. And though the types of selection criteria we look at are the capacity of the company to deliver, the commercial viability of the project, the development impact, how many poor people will benefit and how much will they benefit, how innovative is this business idea, is it just that you want to expand what you're already doing, or is this something that is going to be new and different and make an impact. So we have a series of criteria against which we judge each proposal, and the best proposals win.
Now, suppose all the winners came from Uganda, would you give only Ugandans without giving to the other countries?
It's possible that if Uganda came up with all the best proposals, that Uganda would get most of the money. It's not possible, in fact, that Uganda could get all the money, because we have a percentage of that money in this competition that is actually earmarked for Tanzania. We would like to have more funding in this fund for that would earmark for Uganda, and that would guarantee that Ugandan projects win, but we haven't managed to raise that yet.
How many projects are you looking at for the funding?
If we have $16.5 million, and our current average size of projects is about $700,000, then if you calculate that, something around 20 projects, I guess.
And then I heard you're running more than one competition.
That's true.
What are the others?
We do have another competition that's open to Uganda. It's a competition on commercializing agricultural research and technology that's open to agribusiness companies. It's a competition that is running for the whole of the continent of Africa, and therefore Uganda is open to that. The other two competitions we have are not open to Uganda. They are special competitions for Tanzania, and there is another special competition for Zimbabwe.
Maybe to, I hope you're visiting from the UKA.
That's right, DFID, yeah.
Right. How, to what extent are you able to motivate local entrepreneurs to be able to reap from the carbon fund? I know you're putting money forward right now under this, but is there a reversal other than attracting people to express interest in renewable energy, but also in terms of conservation?
Okay. The new government in the UK has set out its priorities for international development, and two of those priorities are climate change and enabling developing countries to meet the challenges of climate change, and the other is around wealth creation. So in that sense, this particular competition and this particular organisation really sort of embody those two guiding priorities. I mean, clearly an element of protecting against the impact of climate change is to preserve the natural environment wherever possible, and Uganda is a good example where there have been particular problems that have come from deforestation, for example, and we had the Baduda landslides earlier this year, which are a good example of that. So we do see that if measures to tackle climate change are also substantially, though not exclusively, about measures to preserve the natural environment.
Perhaps now to the representative, you had some statistics you're putting forward in terms of the deficit. Perhaps you just lecture us how the energy policy on renewable energy in particular stands. Can you share with us the policy on renewable energy, that component? And then maybe those statistics, how did you come up with them of the deficit in demand for energy in the countryside?
Actually, these are actually real numbers, which you can actually capture in doing surveys. Actually, when you look at the potential in renewable energy resources in Uganda, it's quite enormous. You find we have plentiful of biomass, and actually we use about 92% of the total energy consumed in Uganda is from biomass. That's for both the households, for cooking, water heating, even space heating, and even for most of our industry. You find the bakeries we have, they are using firewood. Clay backing over the bricks and all this. I mean, the traditional kind of biomass is used as a fuel. So that policy is really looking at reversing that kind of a situation where we start using some of these resources in a more modern kind of way. That's why we set up that kind of a policy, looking at the availability of these resources vis-a-vis the low rural electrification which we are having, and also the high prices for fossil fuels, because those they are volatile, they keep on rising, you cannot control them. And also when you look at the climate change issues, as Jen has put it, they are really mainly due to kind of irrational use of some of these resources. That's why we have put up those very ambitious targets that want to increase the levels of usage of the renewable energy in our energy mix.
Two questions actually. One, there's a challenge finding matching funding. Have AECF used the opportunity to invite investors, so the applications or the ones that apply for this grant can pitch their ideas towards, for example, a set of international investors? That was one, number one. And the other question is do you use external competence to do due diligence? How do you do that? Like, what kind of people do you use to do that? Thanks.
It's not really been done. I mean, when people submit their applications, they submit it in confidence, and we treat everything in confidence. But we are well aware that that the AECF actually has a huge pipeline of very, very good projects. There's only a few winners in this, and the ones that are just under those winners are all really, really good projects. So I believe that there's been some discussion with other venture capitalists and other financial institutions. Again, the mechanism of how we do that would have to be worked out, so that if there's a good project and if there's a potential investor, we need to seek permission from the project. And yeah, and that's something that we've got in mind for the future. Second question was what?
Who does the due diligence?
Who does the due diligence? Well, as fund managers, we go in and do the due diligence, and we have the competence to do that. If we need help, we have associations with consulting firms that are specialists in, for example, when we do the REACT one, we will have that renewable energy competence.
But just to add on to your first question, the answer to your first question, we're getting a lot of interest from venture capital companies and others because we have pipeline, they're struggling to get pipeline. We've had discussions with Norfund, for instance. We actually have a relationship now with the Soros Enterprise Development Fund, and are doing an experiment under our window in Zimbabwe where their equity and loan money is being made available alongside ours. It's quite complex to work out how the fee structure works, how this works, and whatever. Our projects we look after for 6 years. We've got venture capital countries and banks wanting to come and nibble at our pipeline but don't want us to manage the project. As far as I'm concerned, what we're interested in is wider impact. There must be a way that we can collaborate with these different parties to ensure that we draw in more people and more other funding to make more projects work. It's just the mechanics of that, and we're trying it in Zimbabwe. If it works, we're going to expand that model with other funding partners as we go.
I want to thank you for your patience. I want to thank you again for making it so early to come and witness this launch. And from us, the biggest thing we want